Hi, I'm Serena Simmons and welcome to APE Model Psychology. Today we're going to be looking at why you need to define what happiness means for you. So we're going to start with a little exercise. We like a good exercise here at APE Model. So all I would like you to do is to very simply sit back and take in your surroundings. So in other words, just notice where you are. What kind of space are you in? Very hippie. Holding the space. So for example, if you're watching this at home, what does your home look like? Is it a small little Victorian terrace? Is it a rented flat? Or maybe you're watching this from your mansion. Maybe you're watching this from a coffee shop. Again, is it somewhere that you come regularly, or have you just popped into this one today? Or maybe you're watching this from holiday. And again, if you're on holiday, what kind of holiday are you on? Is it a backpacking trip around Europe or a 5-star holiday in the Maldives? I know where I'd like to be. The other thing I'd like you to do, and I want you to keep it clean, is to glance down at your body. Just take it in for a moment. So as you sit back and look at your surroundings and take in all the things that I've asked you just to simply look at, I would just ask you if you're happy about those things. In other words, if you are in your home and it is a rented home, are you happy about that? So do you actually aspire in the future to own your own home? So actually that's something that you would like to change in your future. Maybe when I asked you to look at your body, you actually looked at your body and you actually thought, well, actually I'm not so happy with how my body is now, but I would like it to change in the future. If you notice that you feel unhappy with some of those things, or not necessarily unhappy, but you realise that you want to change those things in your future, then this advice will be really helpful for you. If, however, you're super happy with everything, yay! Keep doing what you're doing. Now, what I ask you to do, if you are the person that wants to make some tweaks and changes in the things that you see, is just to consider this, that everything you see around you, as well as your thoughts and feelings, are a manifestation of your inner definitions. So, disclaimer, I am not talking purely about positive thinking. We realise and recognise that there's more to it than just sitting back and thinking positively. In fact, people who just bang on about positive thinking are known to annoy the bejesus out of me. If one other person says, I can manifest £100,000 cheque onto my front doormat, I don't know what I'll do. We are all about being really clear and taking action and having logical, practical steps towards making changes. We happen to think that just by sitting back and thinking positively, that not everything will fall into place. That's only one piece of the puzzle. That's where definitions come in. Those internal definitions are a lot more powerful than we give them credit for. How we define things like happiness and success actually can have a huge practical impact in our lives. In order to illustrate this to you, I'm going to share with you a very personal story, and it's about a previous life and a previous partner. I've written about this story in a book that I've written called Waiting to be Defined, and the entire book is about the impact that our internal definitions have on our life. I rushed to my bedroom, slammed the door as loudly as I could and flung myself onto the bed. I wrapped my arms around my head and cried my eyes out, sobbing violently onto the pillow, the duvet around me now wet with tears and snot. I waited and waited. My sobs became quieter as I strained for the sound of footsteps on the stairs. I was waiting for the steps of my loving husband, who by now should have been by my side, asking for forgiveness, rubbing my back, telling me he loved me and that he was sorry and would never say those things again. Instead, I lay there now, feeling anger boil in the pit of my stomach. Not only could I hear no footsteps, if I listened carefully enough, I could hear him singing. Yes, singing. He was singing away to himself in our kitchen below. Not only was he seemingly not bothered by the raging argument we had just had, but he was in fact jovial as he made himself a sandwich, seemingly unaware of what had just happened. He did not love me. I share that story because a long time ago I held a very different definition of what I thought love was. In my world, love looked like someone, after an argument, chasing me, them taking full responsibility and making it all okay. That was my definition, and obviously only a small part of what I thought love was, but it certainly made up my definition of what a loving relationship looked like. So it just so happened that my husband did love me. The problem was is that I held a very specific definition definition of what I thought love should look like and how it was manifested, and he held a different view. And that in itself led to lots of arguments and miscommunication, and genuinely, we were quite unhappy. So if you're able to see what your definition of something is really clearly, you have a chance to both override it, and if someone else is involved, you have the opportunity to communicate it, and that's where you can make a difference. What I would ask you to do is just think about all of the definitions that you hold about those big things in your life and how they might be impacting both what you see coming back to you on a practical level, but also very much in relationships. For example, as we started off in this video by me asking you what happiness meant to you, I would ask you just to really look at that and think, what does a happy life look like to me? What does it actually consist of? Do I, for example, want to live in a specific place or earn a specific income? Maybe you want a successful career. In that case, I would really hunker down on what success looks like for you. How would you define it? And it comes up again and again, especially in relationships, because people go into a relationship with very different definitions of what love is or what a happy relationship looks like. This is something I do with my clients again and again. When we look at goal setting, I get clients to write down all of the goals that they have for their future self. It's really interesting to see when people write down things like, I want to have a successful career, or I would like to have a happy relationship. The first thing I get clients to do is to really define what those words mean. If you know that you have those goals for yourself, I would really encourage you to write down what you mean by those things. Only by writing those things down and really thinking about them do you get the clarity around the definitions that you hold. It's much easier then to set specific goals and a specific map or roadmap, if you like, as a way of actually achieving it. And certainly in the case of the story that I've just shared with you, when it involves another person, you have an amazing opportunity to share that definition with them and then communicate that. They then get to see whether they're happy to speak your language, and vice versa, you can do the same for them. Once you've found your definitions and you're happy with them, I would just encourage you to keep going back to them, because they're going to evolve and change naturally as you grow and change. I think that Dolly Parton sums it up perfectly when she says, "Find out who you are and do it on purpose." I hope you found this video useful today, and I hope it's had you just sit back and think about the definitions that you hold in your life, and more importantly, how those inner definitions are making your life actually physically look. Remember, if you like what you've seen today, I would love for you to click on the link below so that I can keep you updated, and I look forward to seeing you next week.